back to Beers Up Sports Talk. Sibo in the house, Debo in the house. Episode 18. Back at it. A bunch of things we got to cover today. But as always, before we get started, Debo, what are you drinking?
I'm looking forward to tonight's episode, but I'm drinking on the Newport Craft Brewing Company Storm Amber Ale. It's, again, part of the Beer of the Month Club that the in-laws got me, and it's just probably going to finish it up tonight.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. And I have a standing ovation. I'm back on my bullshit with Progression Brewery.
That ain't bullshit.
Re-upped. Double IPA. It is thick. It is dark. And it is delicious.
It looks beautiful.
It looks and tastes beautiful. Let me tell you right that. All right, let's get right into it. Quick hitter. July 10th, the NHL opens training camp. We excited? We not excited? Why isn't it happening now? What are we waiting for?
Right. I mean, I saw Marchand and I can't remember who the other player was in their practice sweaters the other day. I think they were on the ice because I think they could go to facilities and start working out as by themselves or with another player. Right. But the team can actually get together on the 10th. So I was excited the other day when I saw just they're going.
Yep. No, and the reality is you're right. The facilities are open. They get a month to get themselves together. They'll have 2 weeks of training camp, and then it'll pretty much be go time.
And then we'll have playoffs. We'll have awesome playoffs.
Absolutely. Starting today, though, La Liga, Thursday. Your favorite league. Your
Thursday, if you're listening to it on Friday or any other day.
True. Semantics, kid. But it started today. All right? This is your favorite league. This is your favorite sport. Tell me what you think about La Liga kicking off today, D.
Well, I mean, it's probably my favorite league because it's the only one I've really watched. I mean, we spent some times at Slancha drinking some beers and watching this league. So, and I think this and the Champions League, right? You have to.
I feel like you're kind of ducking the question, but that's okay.
I am.
That's all right. All right. So let's go over it.
No. I'm not ducking the question. I wanted to tell a story. I just figured we've had some fun, and soccer obviously not my favorite, but it's sports. And they played today. There was a match. Sevilla beat Real Betis 2-0. Ocampos and Fernando scored. Gotta love it. From what I hear, Ocampos had a great game. So what do you think of that?
I think what you just said is fantastic. I am happy that soccer is back. I'm happy that I'm going to be able to turn on my TV and watch all of this weekend. But they're going for it.
There's 2 more matches tomorrow.
Well, then I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
1:30 p.m. and then 4. So I'm not going to sit here and try to pronounce these team names.
That's okay. Just tune in, folks. Tune in.
Yes.
And bet on them. Get back to sports betting. But here's the deal. So they're going for it. 11 matches in 43 days. 72 hours max in between games. They get the 5 subs. It's typically 3, but they pushed it to 5, which is great. But you're still stretching folks out because you're still asking people to play a lot of minutes. And the only other thing that I read is that they've had to kind of move the games to a later time in the day because it's summer in Spain. Yeah. And because it's so hot, games are having to start a lot later. So just a lot of adjustment for these players. Again, like most of the soccer I've watched so far, it's probably going to be pretty rough around the edges. I think I feel the same way about the sports that are about to kick off in America. But you know what? Sports are back, and we can't be upset about that.
I don't know. PGA Tour started today. Charles Schwab challenge.
Well, actually, yesterday, if you're.
Oh yeah, you're right.
If you want to pick. Yeah, no. Pick your nits here.
You should definitely call me out on that. So PGA Tour started Thursday.
Cheers to that.
I'll tell you what. There's a lot of people that didn't look like they were very rusty.
No.
Now I know you're gonna say you can sit there and you can chip, and if you own a big piece of land, they can get out there and they can drive and do that. But Justin Rose and Harold Varner III, 7 under. I mean, this is a stacked field. They got the top 5 players in the top 5 ranked players, and 8 out of the top 10 are there. I love it. I mean, just to see them scripping and ripping and saying, let's go, let's get this done. They actually expanded the field. It was supposed to be 122. They put it up to 143 players. No Tiger, no Phil.
That's okay.
But that's okay.
That's all right.
Yep.
Here's the thing. I don't think that it's about them like being able to sit around and chip. I'm quite sure these guys run golf courses every day during the quarantine. Like
Yeah.
either they probably live on one or they live close enough to one where they have a vested interest in that golf course, and I'm sure they just showed up and played. Maybe not. Maybe they followed the rules, but you know what? Golf is one of those few sports that like can happen in a quarantine world because you don't have to be near anybody.
Right.
You can 6 feet of distance is pretty much the least amount of space you spend near somebody when you're playing golf. So like that totally makes sense. And since they're not driving carts, there's no reason to be next to anybody.
I was gonna say, think about this. If you and I play, you like to shoot your ball that way. My ball recently has been going that way. We're not going to see each other if we play golf together right now.
No, totally. Exactly. So I'm happy.
Yep.
A lot of big names in the top 10 too at this point. I mean, I know it's just the first round and just getting started, but like you said, it's a stacked field. You got a bunch of big names. And again, as we talked about in the last episode, if we can get to Sunday and you've got the last couple of pairs just be kind of monster names, it's going to be a great way for golf to return. And if they're doing things like having Ricky Fowler mic'd up the whole time, I'm here for that content.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if it's going to stay PG rated, but I guess you got to when you're a professional golfer. But like, I'm here for that content all day, every day.
I am too.
All right, next up on the docket, the University of Southern California, and I have some feelings on this organization or on this university.
Yeah.
They ended their disassociation with Reggie Bush and OJ Mayo. Now,
10 years to the day.
Right. Well, the thing is, the sanctions require, the NCAA requires you to do at least 10 years. You have to go 10 years when these sanctions are levied. So the moment they could end their disassociation, they did. Again, both of these guys took improper benefits.
I mean, I'll have something to say about that as well. I think we both are probably going to be on the same point of view here. But
go for it. Tell me what you're thinking.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I mean, you call them improper benefits, but you have the NCAA, you have these universities making money off these athletes. I'm a proponent to paying these athletes because they're making so much money for the NCAA and the university that, yeah, of course they're going to take some benefits. Like,
and here's the thing. Reggie Bush is considered by most to be, or by a lot, the best college football player to ever play the game.
Yeah.
He was absolutely banana land in his time at USC. And OJ Mayo, I could be wrong, but my guess is if he could have, he would have just gone to the pros out of
Yeah, so he was the highest ever drafted player out of USC. So that's something big for him. I mean, you kind of put him back on the map a little bit. USC has never been a basketball powerhouse, but that year that he was spent with them, they were good. He carried them to, I'm not exactly sure how far they went, but I know they made a run in the Pac-12 because it was Pac-12 then, right?
It might have been Pac-10. It's Pac-12 now. It don't matter. It's all good. Yeah. Don't even sweat it. Yeah. Here's my thing, though. USC, they're some cheating motherfuckers. All right? They don't care whether it's Reggie Bush, whether it's OJ Mayo, or like we saw a year ago with this varsity blues college admission scandal where USC was getting hemmed up in their athletic department because their associate athletic director was getting paid huge chunks of money to accept kids as athletes in sports that those kids had never played in. Big surprise that this happened at USC, Dot. Big surprise. They are cheaters. Now, I'm all for athletes getting paid. Like, and I believe now the NCAA said that players can make money off their likeness, right?
Yep.
I am all for them getting paid. People like myself have said in the past, well, they're getting a free education. They should be happy with that. That's some bullshit. Yeah. These folks are making millions of dollars for these colleges and universities. They're making millions of dollars for these old white men who run the NCAA. They are making all this money for folks. And people are like, well, that $250,000 education you got really came in handy. Really? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah. USC, you cheat. NCAA, you suck. Let the players get paid.
Oh,
I'm glad Reggie Bush and OJ Mayo are back in the good graces of USC. I think they're both probably pretty happy because obviously they went there for a purpose. Again, Reggie Bush isn't Reggie Bush without USC.
Yep.
And he was such a dynamic player and so good, and they were so dominant. And same goes for OJ Mayo. He needed a place. He went to Southern California, did well for a year, went to the NBA, had a good career. But I'm glad they're back at USC. But USC is a clown show.
All right.
I'm sorry. Listen,
No,
here's the thing.
You get to have your opinion. You're not.
No, and here's the thing. With when you factor in that college admission scandal where this associate athletic director was legit collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars to slide people in on the low, like, big surprise that Reggie Bush was getting improper benefits. Big surprise and Reggie Bush was kind of ridiculous. Like, his parents were living in like a brand new house. There was tons of money, and like, you know what?
Yeah.
Good for them, because you know what? It turned out pretty well. He was still the number 2 pick in the draft. It's not like it hurt him, right?
Nope.
But like, big surprise that something like that was happening at USC.
Well, I mean, we can say big surprise at USC, but it happens everywhere.
Right.
You just got to get caught.
Right. All right. On to the NBA. Last week we talked about the fact that we were going to dig into the NBA teams that are coming back or coming into Orlando in the near future. We're going to tackle the Eastern Conference tonight, and we'll get to the Western Conference the next time we get together. But let's start with kind of what the NBA plan is. So D, kind of scope out how the NBA plans to attack the return to basketball.
So they are going to have the 22 teams that are still in the playoff race. So,
right, so 13 West, 9 East.
It's 13 West, 9 East. So it's the top 8 from each division already,
Mm-hmm.
and then whatever teams are within 6 games of the 8th seed make it. So that's why there's only 9 teams from the East, and there's 13 on the West, because there's more teams that have a chance to still make a run.
Yep.
They're going to play 8 games to kind of get ready, finalize seeding, that type of things, and see if the 9 seed can catch the 8 seed or whatever happens, or see if there can be any movement in the 2 and 3 and all those other spots. And then and I could not find it, but the play-in game is if they are within a half game, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
they are going to have a play-in tournament where if the 9th seed is within that range,
Yep.
they'll play it to see who becomes the 8th seed. So that's what the thought is. So what's going to happen is in the first 53 days after July 31st, 14 of the 22 teams will be done. And then 14 days later, there will only be 4 teams left. So we're talking, that's going to go pretty quick.
It's a lot of basketball.
That is a lot of basketball. So there's also been talk that players are meeting, having conference calls and saying that they're not sure if they want to come back. They have, the bubble doesn't seem right. I just read a story today. Carmelo Anthony hasn't made up his mind yet, but it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because he hasn't heard the whole plan, and he said he's not going to commit until that happens, which I think makes sense.
Yeah.
So they've created a rule or policy that if a player doesn't come back, a team can substitute them. So they can sign anyone who played in the NBA or the G League this season.
Okay.
So some of the big names that are out there, DeMarcus Cousins, Isaiah.
Is he healthy?
Huh?
Is he healthy?
He might be. I'm just throwing
When you
names.
say big names, are you saying because he's a big guy, or
No, I'm saying because that's a name that could help. If he's healthy, then he can help. They won't sign him if he's not healthy, right?
Right.
So I'm just telling you the names that are out there.
I'm just here. Yeah. Keep
All
going.
right. Isaiah Thomas, is he good anymore? J.R. Smith, Jamal Crawford, who is money,
Well, that's the one that makes no sense. I don't know how that guy's not on a team, but yeah.
and Nate Robinson.
So you mentioned one guy who can actually still play basketball.
Fair. I don't know if that's
Listen,
fair.
Jamal Crawford could help a team.
Yes. I think DeMarcus Cousins could give a team 10 minutes.
DeMarcus Cousins, if healthy, I mean, that's the thing. If he's healthy,
Mhm.
Isaiah Thomas, I mean, I love IT. Like, I love
He
that
did a
guy.
lot for
But like,
Boston.
what's up?
I said he did a lot for Boston.
He did a lot for Boston, but there was, and I shouted this from the rooftops, and it was probably super mean, but like whatever. But like, they were never going to win a finals with IT. I mean, and not just because he was a 5'7" guard who was getting the crap kicked out of him, but also like he was like the most like the biggest defensive liability like I've ever watched. And I've seen a lot of people be really bad at defense, but like it wasn't just that he was bad. It was just like teams would abuse him. I mean, if they were able to get a switch on him and get somebody who was like 6'10" on him.
Right.
And now I'm going into a rabbit hole and I want to bounce out because there's a couple things I want to mention to what you said. And so that's all like super exciting. It's going to be a lot.
The last thing I want to say right now, there are 8 teams: Denver, Clippers, Memphis, Oklahoma City, Phoenix, Portland, Sacramento, and San Antonio, all in the West, that have an open spot that one of those players or anyone from the G League or that's a free agent right now can sign with them. So,
but you know, and I wonder because they've expanded rosters, like it might just be a case where they feel more comfortable with the guys they've had in their own G League, like their own guys, right? But here's a couple other things to throw at you. So 16-day regular season. So they're going to play 8 games in 16 days. They're going to have 5 to 6 games a day.
I'm trying to do the math on that. How are they going to play 8 games a team in 16 days?
5 to 6 games a day.
Yeah.
On 3 courts with 4 hours. So they are literally going to be playing nonstop.
No, I understand that, but how is one team going to play 8? So I guess so they'll play every other day, basically.
Pretty much. And it did say I think they'll have to play 1 back-to-back. Every team will play 1 back-to-back.
That's not actually bad because they're not traveling. They don't have to travel across the country for games. So it's not that awful.
And I've said this to you. This is going to be some shitty basketball. This is going to be some bad basketball. Not only are these folks – sure, maybe they've been shooting around, but as we learned in the game of horse, not everybody has an indoor court, right? So, yes, these folks have been working out. Now they're back at the gym. That's great. Have they played any? I mean, I'm sure they have because, you know, like people are going to break rules, but, like, how much 5-on-5 is going on right now?
Right.
Not legally.
My guess is your superstars are going to be just fine. And
I don't know. Honestly, I think
your LeBron, I think your Russell Westbrooks and James Hardens will be fine because they'll just take over and just go.
But I think you're going to see shooting percentages way down. You're going to like you say LeBron's going to be fine if LeBron takes it to the hoop, but I think his threes are going to be god awful.
Why would it? I don't think he needs to shoot threes.
But he's going. Listen. Here's why. These folks are going to be tired. D. They're going to play potentially a shit ton of games in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And yes, everything's right there on top of you, but like these guys aren't used to playing every other day.
Yeah.
They're not used to, and again, so what they're going to do is they're going to go deeper into the roster. And you think those guys, roster numbers 15, 16, and 17, aren't going to be chucking up shots and looking a hot mess?
Oh, no, I agree with that's what I'm saying is I think your players that have been playing are going to be just fine, meaning like I said, your LeBrons, even your Tatums, your Jaylen Brown, Kemba, they're going to be fine. But once you get past maybe 8, 9 on the depth chart, yes, I think someone who doesn't normally take shots in a game is going to come out and try to be a champion to not only win for their team, but try and make a name for themselves going for next year. Speaking of, let's talk about how they were like, we're going to start 1 month after this season starts or this season ends.
Oh, like, the next season?
Yeah, for next season.
This is basically a training camp. This is going to be. I'm really excited that basketball is coming back. I think it's going to be very painful to watch, especially I can't wait for the NBA finals, but I think the finals are going to be like 88 to 73. Or it's going to be like 150 to 140 because no one's going to play defense and they're just going to run up and down the court and take layups. I just think folks are going to be tired.
The first 16 days, those 8 games, I think, yes, those are going to be miserable. I think as it progresses, it'll be fine. Maybe
they're basically going to play every other day for the next, 3 months?
Yep.
They don't do that on a regular basis, right? And like I want to believe that they have all been working out, but I feel like some people are going to come back looking like Big Baby.
What was wrong with him? He had a killer.
Listen, man, like I was watching the 2010 Game 7 against the Lakers, NBA Finals, the one that Perk went down in Game 6, and the Lakers won Game 7. And Big Baby's on a team, and like he had like kind of a badass first half, and I was just like, I totally forgot about Big Baby and like how absolutely ridiculous he was, and like how in like one moment he could be like a special player, and the next minute he's like chucking it out of bounds and blaming the person that he just threw it over their head, and being like why didn't you jump 5 feet and catch the ball? But like, of course, like looking so confused because he always looked confused.
He did.
You know. All right, so let's talk about this Eastern Conference. So give me your teams that you think are well positioned to do well here.
All right. So right now we're looking at Washington being the 9 seed.
Right. So let's get the team. So we got
you got Milwaukee in the 1, Toronto in 2, Boston, Miami in the 3-4. So then the away teams would be Indiana Pacers, Philadelphia Sixers, Brooklyn Nets, Orlando Magic, and then on the outside, 5.5 games in, barely making the 6-game line, the Washington Wizards. I think you're going to see Washington not make the playoffs. I think that Milwaukee's going to stay the number 1. Toronto's not picking 6.5 games up in 8 games.
No, they're chilling.
So tell me how Toronto is a 2 seed.
They're still really good. They've got a lot of good players on that team.
They got Lowry, and they have the guy's name I can't even pronounce.
It's Seacom.
Seacom, yeah.
He's turned into an absolute stud. Van Fleet has kind of come of age. And then they got Marc Gasol. And they got a couple of role players. And again, they're down Kawhi Leonard, right, obviously. But they know how to win, right? They're talented. And, again, the Eastern Conference, as we can tell by the number of teams that are in this 22 playoff format, the East is kind of weak, right? Yeah. I mean, let's be clear. The Bucks could potentially come out and win their first 2 games and then just be like, we're just going to sit our starters. Now, I don't think they'll do that, but, like, they probably will say, like, hey, you guys get about 20 minutes a game, and then –
yeah, that would make more sense. And Boston, did you see Taco Fall hitting threes?
No, I haven't, and I don't want to get too excited, so let's not talk about it right now because –
Taco Fall, he's step back threes. They're working on him to get those. I mean, so does that mean they're going to sign him?
I mean, I assume he'll be part of the 17-man roster.
Part of the 17, right? I mean, he probably won't get any time.
But again, like you think about, like if you think about if they were in a semifinal matchup with the Raptors, and every time Paul Gasol was in there, they wanted to bring in Taco. Like he's going to provide the opportunity to match up with people like that. People like the Lopez boy that plays for the Bucks. People like Marc Gasol.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid, like guys like that. Again, these are all like probably better athletes than Taco, but like he's also just going to be really weird to play against for those guys. And if he can slow those guys down a little bit, not a bad thing.
Yeah, so I think your top 3 seeds are going to stay pretty much the way they are. Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston. I don't think you're going to see too much movement. And then you have a whole nother group of Miami, Indiana, and Philly. They're all within 2 games of each other.
So
I think those 3 could move around a lot.
I think the Heat are solid. My thing about the Pacers is Oladipo's only played 13 games this season. And he was just coming back.
Yep.
Now he's got this long layoff. How is he going to look? And again, I know I've talked about like the NBA being like kind of crappy coming back, but like this is a guy who's just getting himself back to like health after that awful injury. And so like I think he slips a little bit. I think Philly jumps up a little bit. I think the Nets are going to be awful. I mean, if Kyrie isn't playing, and obviously Durant's not playing, I mean, maybe those guys step up like they did last year and kind of show out. But like,
well, Brooklyn's 7.5 back. I'm sorry, 8.5 back of the 6th seed, so they're not moving into that 3 area.
Right.
So I mean, I could see Philly and Miami fighting it out for that 4 seed, and Indiana dropping down to the 6th seed.
My hot take is that the Nets don't make the playoffs.
Really? You think they're going to lose all 8 games? that's what it's going to take.
I-
Washington is going to have to is going to have to beat them by 6 games or 6.5 games to catch them.
I listen. That's my hot take. That's all it is. I think the Nets are not going to do well. And again, don't get me wrong. They've still got players. They got Dinwiddie. They got LeVert. They got bodies. They can go. But like, I just think like, they're going to come out. I just have a feeling they're going to come out flat. I could see in my mind, there's an opportunity for them to grab a better draft pick that they could use in trade. Again, it probably doesn't happen that way, but like for the Wizards, they get a number 1 draft pick back next year with John Wall, right?
Yep.
They're and I love Bradley Beal. I think that guy can straight go. I don't know. I'm all in on the Wizards jumping the Nets. I think the Magic and Wizards move up and the Nets drop out. That's my thing.
That's cool.
What I hope happens is, and I think we were talking about this beforehand, that something happens where the Celtics don't have to play Philly.
Well, I mean, if this stays the way it is, Celtics go Philly, Toronto, Milwaukee, most likely. Like
that's rough.
And
so
then
wait a minute, you got these numbers in front of you? How many games behind the Raptors are the Celtics?
3. So they can catch them.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends on. I mean, let's see. They're probably going to play them, right? Are they just going to play only in the Eastern Conference? Because that would make sense.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think that they'll be able to just play the Eastern Conference because the Western Conference has more teams.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to have to be some combination of. So
I was going to say it would be perfect to make sense. It would perfectly make sense that they would play the East because you're looking at 9 teams. You can play 8 games. You play everyone once. So around.
But then what do you do about the West Coast, right? So I wonder. That's a good question. I'm not sure about that.
But then I also heard that they're going to go off of win percentage. So that could, a half game here and there could really change things. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, they need a first round matchup against like
the Pacers,
Magic, which isn't going to. I mean, that's a far off thing, but like they need something like that. They need a, even. Yeah, they just need something.
They can beat Philly, but
oh yeah.
I mean, it's just it's going to come down to who gets the team chemistry back quickly.
Well, and part of me also thinks like the Celtics are young, and so maybe those legs stand up a little longer. Maybe the Raptors with Lowry and Gasol just stumble out of the gate and don't get there. The Bucks are one of the oldest teams in the league. Maybe because they're spending so much time on the bench because they're so far ahead, like they get into that first round matchup and they get taken to 7 games. Who knows, right? Like that's the, as I joke about like it being crappy basketball, but like the interesting thing about this is that it's really going to be like a sprint to the finish line. Like we often joke that it's like not a sprint, it's a long race, right? Yeah. But this is a sprint. Like this is going to be like, it's going to be whatever team gets hot, right? Like it's going to be whatever team in those 8 games that they play, find that chemistry, like you said, get the right rotations, figure out when to put in those 15, 16, 17 guys when you need them, and then also like give rest to those guys in those moments where you have the ability to. That's really what's going to matter most. Like it's going to be really interesting to see like if a team gets down by 20 points in the second quarter, do they just say like, screw it, we're just going to go with players 12 through 18 for the rest of the game because like it's not worth trying to get back in this game,
right? Because
this one game isn't going to matter that much, right?
Yeah, I mean, you might say that for like Washington might want to keep playing their starters to come back, but yeah, I think if you're Milwaukee or even if you're a top 6, you're probably.
Right, but I mean, I think that what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of teams go really hard out the gate to try and get to get a couple of wins right off the bat, so that they can have a pretty clear picture of like worst case scenarios. Like if the Celtics win the first 3 games, they're pretty much putting themselves in a situation to be locked in at that 3 seed, maybe a 2 seed if they can bump Toronto. So like again, that's what I mean. Like you have a bad start to a game and you get down early, you might just be like, let these guys run and we'll save our starters' legs because we're going to need them in the playoffs. Because the reality is, at this point, like you're not looking like a month or 2 months down the road for the playoffs. You're literally looking like a couple of weeks. It's just like right beyond the horizon.
Yeah.
and you're going to need those legs.
So this is not an official prediction. This is if everything was to go right now with the way rosters finished, and this is the exact roster we're going to have going into the playoffs, and they started right this second.
Yeah.
Who goes to the finals?
Celtics.
Celtics?
Of course. I'm not picking anyone else.
I have Milwaukee. Right now, I would say Milwaukee's going to be.
What are you wearing that shirt for? You're picking Milwaukee.
Because I'm picking it not as a fan. That's what we're here for, not to pick it as a fan.
So you're telling me that if we're talking about the NFL playoffs and the Packers are in the playoffs, you're going to be like, no, they're not going to Super Bowl.
I picked San Francisco to win that game.
Shut the fuck! Get out of here!
Don't tell me
out of here!
No, I do that. I'm honest.
It's crazy. The Celtics are the number 3 seed. They've got a legitimate chance to get to the finals, and you want to pick the Bucks?
I don't want to pick the Bucks. I said
then don't pick the Bucks.
Maybe things will change by then.
Pick the Celtics.
July, so it would be August. So August 15th or 14th, whatever podcast that is.
Yeah.
That's when we'll have the official predictions for the.
I can tell you my prediction is going to be that day. It's going to be the Celtics.
Well, what if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown go down?
The Celtics. In 4 games over whatever team makes the NBA Finals.
Wow. Okay.
I'm here for it. Here's what I'll say. The Celtics are just as talented as just about every team in this league. They're younger than a team like the Bucks, and the Bucks have kind of had their number. But again, this is going to be a wild ride.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you'll see some upsets in the early rounds because I do think a team that gets their if Oladipo comes out and he's putting up 30 a game and he's back to his old self, they could run somebody right out of the building. Right. If Philly comes back and Embiid's playing at the MVP form that he can play at, and Ben Simmons is able to do the things that he can do, then they could easily be an Eastern Conference final team. Right. And we obviously talked about the Bucks and everything that they can do, but like, that's the thing. Like, this is going to be one of those things where, like, I'm just thinking about the West Coast. Like, if Portland comes back and they get their stuff together with all the talent they have, if Zion comes back and just decides he's just going to start dominating teams.
Yep.
I mean, I could see, again, like you were talking about some of these players coming back and just dominating. Like, I could see a team like Houston struggling because, like, if they're missing, if they're off and they're taking a lot of threes and taking a lot of shots and Westbrook isn't able to get to the lane as much, like, that's a team that all of a sudden could struggle. Now, I don't think that they necessarily will, but, like, I just think it's going to be interesting if they're playing a team that comes in and is hot and has all the confidence in the world. It could be quick because you're not going to have the time to recover.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the Western Conference next time, so we can get into, who they might play and
whoever you think might play the Bucks in the finals.
Right, maybe. As of 6/11, June 11th, that's who I think. I want to see the games play because I'm being objective here, and that's what my job is.
No, I'm not here for that. I'm a goddamn fan. That's what I am. Feed me the
Fair
Celtics.
enough.
Celtics in 4 without Tatum or Brown. I don't even know. Hayward for MVP. Let's go. Give me that.
Well, obviously that's what I want. We're supposed to be objective.
Who says we have to be objective? Who said that? What rules were laid out before we did this?
All right. So I was thinking about something as we were going through this, and I want to get your thoughts on NASCAR. Bubba Wallace decking out his car in the Black Lives Matter, really throwing it out there for a fan base that might not be there for that.
Well, so the NASCAR has come out and said that they're removing all Confederate flags and all of that. And there's at least one driver who has quit NASCAR because of this.
Yeah, I want to say his name is Rick. It's Chicharrillo, something like that.
Don't matter. He's
don't even know your name.
He's literally a nobody now because of that.
Okay. He's been in 32 races. He's won none.
You have these.
And I don't even.
Here you are with these guys.
I don't even know if he has actually been in a top 5. I mean, here's the thing. Like, and he says it's not even because of that. It's not even because it's the Confederate flag. It's just because you're taking away rights of people to have the Confederate flag. So he's trying to make himself not look racist by supporting people that want to be racist.
But he is racist.
So I don't know
Just
if you
go ahead and
saw,
call that.
they said that the Mansville race that they showed last night was the highest rated race, and it was higher than last year's. And this was with all the crazy, with removing the Confederate flags, with Bubba Wallace coming out and wearing his Black Lives Matter shirt and his mask and doing the car. I think it's gonna be crazy. I love it.
Listen, man, NASCAR folks are a different breed.
Yep.
They're gonna show up no matter what. Taking the Confederate flag away isn't gonna stop them from smashing bush lights and partying like a rock star. So like, I'm glad that Bubba Wallace did that. Like, let's bring more attention to this movement. We need to bring more attention to this movement. Those folks in the NASCAR world and those fans of NASCAR who decide to distance themselves from NASCAR because NASCAR did a really smart and actually like good thing. Bye. Like, goodbye. Like, go. What are you gonna do now? Like, go be racist in something else? Like that's the thing. Like, those people that do step away from the sport and do, fuss about them doing this. Like, we're literally. I mean, it not to get too deep into it, but it's so eerily similar to like the Kaepernick kneeling thing. Like, What are we talking about? Like, we're literally just having a conversation about like doing the right thing, and people are like, "Well, stop. Don't tell me what I can and can't do," which we can have a whole podcast about that. And I'm not here for it right now.
No, I agree.
Shout out to NASCAR for doing that. It's long overdue. Again, it's moments like this that you realize that all the protesting and all the loud voices and all the people coming to the table, that the change is happening, however slow it may be, but things like this represent the fact that people are paying attention and they're starting to have those conversations, and that change is happening.
Agreed. I love it.
All right, man. That's it on episode 18. Next time, we'll hit the Western Conference. You'll pick some busted-ass team to make the finals against the Bucks, and we'll go from there.
All right, no doubt.
Any parting shots for the people out there, man?
The only thing I got is, hey, man, 19 states, coronavirus cases are already rising after being closed down. Wear your fucking masks, socially distant.
I'm not laughing at coronavirus. I'm laughing at these clowns that thought it wasn't going to come get them.
Get your shit together, please.
And let's be clear, all of those states in the South that didn't take this stuff seriously, put a mask on, stay away from people for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then we can get moving in the right direction.
Come on, put them on.
All right, y'all. Later.
All right, peace.